Hi, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a moment. We've got some people that are still getting online. Just a couple of housekeeping tips. When you come in, if you will mute yourself, and then when I am going to give you all opportunities throughout the presentation to ask questions. And when I get to the point that you can, or when we get to those times, I'll tell you that you can unmute yourself and you can give your comments or ask questions as they come up. I'm going to give everyone just another minute or so, and then we will get started. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Just a quick thing. If someone that's on video, can y'all just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me okay? All right. Thank you, Ms. Cox. I saw that. I thought I saw your thumb. By the way, it looks like it makes it look like you're on the beach. I wish I was on the beach. So so anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our second virtual town hall, where we're going to be presenting our proposed plan for our new quality system. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute, about what that is and kind of how we got to the point that that we are at now. So those of you that may not know who I am, my name is Chad Allgood. I am the director for the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development. Many of you have probably seen my name on letters, or maybe have seen me at some of the other town halls that we've had over the past few months. So again, just some housekeeping tips. I just ask that you would mute yourself as you enter the chat. And if you're not speaking, if you would just keep yourself muted. I am going to give everyone an opportunity throughout the presentation. I'm going to pause and I will ask if there are any questions, or if anyone would like to make some comments on what we're presenting tonight. So I do ask that if you're not speaking, if you would just keep yourself muted, and just keep yourself muted until I will ask you, like I said, to unmute yourself if you would like to ask any questions or provide some comments. So tonight, let's see if I can get. Okay. So tonight, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be sharing with you all a proposed model for what will essentially, or what might essentially, take the place of our current standard center designation. Some of you, or most of you, should be familiar with the standard center designation. It is it is a self-assessment that you do, and it is what we currently use in Mississippi as our quality assurance check for programs that for child care programs in the state. It is the system that replaced the Quality Stars model, which was in place several years prior to this, or to the standard designation being put in place. Actually a couple of years ago, back when the pandemic first began, we started doing these town hall meetings. We started doing information sharing sessions where we would do virtual sessions where we would come online. And anyone could join. We use them as opportunities to share information with you all. We use them as opportunities for you also to ask questions or give us feedback. We found that it's worked really well, and it's been a really fantastic way for us to touch base with you all to keep you updated on things that we're doing. And so we've continued that. And we also did a couple of rounds of town hall meetings where we talk to you all about our current quality system. And when I'm talking about our quality system, I'm not just talking about one piece. We were talking about everything. We were talking about the training that you all received, the workshop training, the technical assistance that you all receive from, from us and from the other groups that we work with. We also talked to you about the resource and referral system. And then we talked to you about the standard center designation, what your thoughts were on how that designation worked as far as helping you improve quality in your programs, but then also helps you let parents know what was going on in your programs. And so we did a couple of town halls for a couple of rounds of town halls on that. And then we also sent out a survey last year where we got your feedback on that whole quality system. And based on that feedback, we determined that we needed to make some improvements, which include making some improvements to our training, to our technical assistance, expand the resource and referral sites that we have across the state. And we're doing all of those things. And something else that became apparent was that you felt that we needed to put something else in place in terms of our quality, our quality assessment, or the way that we look at quality. And so we took all of your feedback and we put our heads together and we developed what I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And I do want to say that everything that you're going to see tonight, none of this has been implemented. None of this is being implemented, and there are no plans to formally implement any of this. What we're doing tonight is we're sharing with you what we think might be a good system. But before we look at even implementing any of this, we wanted to do these town halls to share this model with you and get your feedback. So I'm going to share the different pieces of this with you, but I want to hear from you. We want to hear what your perspective is on this model. I want you to share with us what you like about it. I want you to share, of course, any questions that you may have about the system. And like I said, this is all about us getting feedback from you. Now, that being said, we do ask that as you're, looking at this system, that you keep an open mind. I know that we have had, we've had a couple of different systems, and I know that there's been a lot that's been put on y'all, and we've taken that into consideration when looking at the, when we've been looking at this whole model. And we've also thought through what the rollout process is going to be. We're not going to throw a bunch of new stuff at you all at once, and I'm going to explain what the rollout process is going to be. So, we do want to hear your feedback. I do ask, like I said, that you keep an open mind. I also ask that, as we're looking at this, this is not really an opportunity to complain about past things. Now, obviously, I want you to share concerns, but I want you to do so in the context of what we're presenting. Okay. And again, please don't yell at us, because we're coming to you. We're coming to you in the spirit of true collaboration. So kind of what is tonight going to look like? Well, I've already shared the background for kind of how we got here for you. I'm going to kind of go through our process for engagement, which is the model that we've been using to really involve you all in this work, involve you all in the planning, and potentially what the implementation might look like. I'm going to share with you what our overall vision is for the quality support system. We're going to look kind of at the big picture, like what it is that we're trying to accomplish. I'm going to talk to you about the class observation tool, which is it is one of the pieces of this that we're looking at, and kind of explain a little bit about what that is. And then I'm going to actually walk you through what the potential system might look like. And again, as I said, before, none of this is actually, it has been implemented. None of this is being implemented. We're just simply sharing with you all what we might like to see happen, and we want to get your perspective. We want to get your feedback on that. So when we're talking about, involving you all in the work of building this system, what we're really talking about here is true collaboration. And so this is the collaboration pyramid. And these pieces that are in place, obviously, one of the things that's really important is, first of all, we agree that we're going to cooperate with each other. We're not going to, we need to, we're trying to, or not trying to, but we're wanting to bring you all to the table. And for us to cooperate, that means that we listen to your perspective. We listen to what you all want to see happen, and then you all listen to what we think, needs to happen. And that's, true cooperation. Then we move to the next step, which is coordinating, where we actually look at coordinating our efforts, and when you think about the coordination between those of us that are supporting you all, it's our job to support you. You all are on the front line serving children and their families, and we want to support you in that. So, when we're talking about coordination, we coordinate our resources, what we can do to help you all, to help you all do the best that you possibly can to offer the best possible care and education for children. And then ultimately it gets down to collaboration, which is what we are doing tonight. We are collaborating on this potential model for our quality system. And then of course it all gets down to good, solid communication at every step of the way. So our process for engaging you all, this is our feedback loop. We start at the top. If you look at this model, you see the orange circle. The first step is us gathering input. And so, like I said before, we did a couple of rounds of town hall meetings where we met with you all. We discussed with you all the current system. We did the survey. We gathered all that input. We gathered all that data. Then we moved to the gray circle, where we took all that information and we digested it, we processed it, and we interpreted it into what we thought or what we think you all are telling us that you would like to see. And so then that brings us to the next circle, which is the yellow circle, where we have developed a potential plan, and now we're checking in with you. We're checking in with you to see if we got it right. Did we interpret what you all told us you wanted correctly? And then we're going to stay on this circle for a while. We're going to work on developing this model. We're going to check in with you all a couple of times before we actually move to the next piece, which is action, which is where we might actually look at implementing a new system. And then of course, as we take action and as we put things into place, we're going to continue to get your feedback, and we're going to share information on how it's going. And because we do really feel like your involvement at each part of this is crucial, and we want to make sure that you all feel that you are not only being heard, but that what you're sharing with us is in fact being used and put into action. So this is the town hall schedule, and I just wanted to share this with you all in case you all have some friends or colleagues that were not able to be here tonight. We are doing 6 town halls total. 4 of them are face-to-face, 2 of them virtually. Tuesday night, I was in Indianola for face-to-face. Then yesterday, I did our first virtual town hall, which was from 12 to 2 o'clock. Tonight, we're doing this one on the 15th, which is, of course, from 6 to 8. And then next week, on Tuesday, we will do a face-to-face town hall in Jackson, which will also be 6 to 8 p.m. On Thursday next week, I'll be in Hattiesburg doing another face-to-face. And then finally, on July 6th, we'll be in Tupelo for the final face-to-face town hall. So if you know some folks that wanted to join but were not able to join tonight, please let them know that there are other opportunities for them to join. And we also, we've sent out flyers with all the information on that as well. All right, so as we're looking at what this system is going to be, what's our overall vision? What is it that where are we trying to go with this new system? And we broke this down into what we think we need for children, what we think we need for parents, what we think we need for you all, and then what do we want for the state as a whole. So for children, when we're thinking about what we want out of our quality system, we want children to have high quality care and education, and we want that to be adapted to the unique needs of each child. Those of you that have worked in early childhood for a long time, no two children learn the same way. And ultimately what we're trying to do is prepare them for lifelong learning and prepare them for success as they get older, as they continue learning, as they continue school, and then ultimately as they become adults and as they contribute to society. For parents, or excuse me, also for children, we want them to provide them with learning opportunities that are exciting. We want them to have learning opportunities that are fun and really capture the essence of early childhood, which we all know to be learning through play. That's really what it gets down to, is that's what early childhood education is. It's education through play. It's learning through play, through exploring, through exploring the environment, through interacting with their peers, with other adults. That's really the true essence of early childhood education. For parents, we want parents to be able to search for an early childhood program that meets their needs, but also may identify other services that might be interesting to them. We also want to have a system that will inform parents about any specializations that you all offer. The thing is, just like no two children learn the same way, same thing with childcare programs. No two childcare programs are exactly the same. And you all have specializations, you have nuances about your programs where you offer things that are very unique in some cases, and really meet the specific needs of certain families that are out there. So how can we create a system that allows you to highlight those specializations, and how do we help parents to see what those specializations that you offer out are? For parents, we want for parents, for providers, for you all, what do we want for you? Or what did you tell us that you need? We feel like you need to be able to improve the quality of your program, but do so in a way that is doable and is also adaptive. So a quality system that can be adapted to your individual programs or to the unique needs of your programs. But then there's still the necessity of maintaining accountability, not necessarily just to, not to necessarily just us, but also your community, but then also to each other. That's something else that we heard, is that, you all want there to be a level of accountability, and you feel like there is a need for you all to hold each other accountable for the work that you do. We also want this system, there is a level of accountability that's necessary, but accountability alone is not going to do it. From our perspective, on our side of things, we have to be able to support you. So as you are working in your programs, as you constantly work to make things better, to offer the best possible services to children and families, we need to be supporting you. So there has to be a balance in this system of support and the accountability part. We also feel like, you need a system that has options. So in what we're going to present to you tonight, there is not just one way to show what you're doing. There's not just one way for you to prove or to show evidence that what you're doing to offer the best possible care and education for children. So there are multiple pathways that you can choose to do that. So having options that meet your needs, and also having those multiple pathways to show proficiency in those different areas of your programs. What do we want for the state? Well, we want Mississippi to be a leader in early childhood education. I know that I'm tired. I know that people that I work with are tired, and I know y'all are tired of Mississippi always being seen as, at the bottom of the ladder. There are things, about Mississippi that definitely need to be improved, but there are a lot of really great things in this state too. A lot of you are doing some really, really fantastic things in your programs, and we need to have a system in place that allows you to showcase that really allows you to show all the great things that you're doing day to day, as you work with these children. Secondly, we feel like this system needs to be a way that will assure families their children are receiving high quality care. And along with that, the system needs to be easily understandable. So when we're talking about recognizing you for the hard work that you do, developing a way that people that don't work in the early childhood arena every single day. So, I'm talking about parents, but then I'm also talking about other people in the community. I'm talking about, legislators, people that make decisions about funding, et cetera. They're provide a way that they can better understand what is necessary for high quality care and education. Communicate that in a way that makes sense to them. And I hope that what we share tonight, I hope, that's something that we're also going to be accomplishing, that we kind of take some of the mystery out of what it means to have a high quality program. All right, so I'm gonna, here in just a minute, I'm gonna start getting into kind of the nuts and bolts of what the quality system will look like, but I wanted to go through just a couple of other things. So in looking at the design of this system, we really focused on two components. The first of which is, how do we support children that are learning? How do we support early learners? In other words, and when I say we, I'm talking about all of us. How did those of us at our, what is it that we need to be doing, in my office, but then what is it that we feel like you all are doing that we need to support you in as well? So what is it that we all need to be doing to make sure that young children are learning and are thriving in those first few years of their life? First of all, children need positive teacher-child interaction all day, every day. The research is clear. But then also in your, when we heard from you all about what you thought that, good quality childcare looks like, you all said it really gets down to the teacher. And I agree with that. I couldn't agree with it more. The key to having a really fantastic program is having teachers that care about children, that are going to take time to get to know the needs of that child, that are going to provide that loving, nurturing care every day, all day. That's the most important thing. You can have the most expensive equipment, you can have the most state-of-the-art building, but if you have teachers that stink, it's not going to do you any good. From my own personal perspective, when my sister, I have two nieces, and when she was talking to me about where in the world she was going to take her kids, I told my sister, I said, you need to really focus in on a place that's got teachers that care, teachers that are going to put, my two nieces first. And, there's a lot that you can do. You can be creative. You don't have to have the most expensive equipment. You don't have to have a top state-of-the-art building, but you do have to have those teachers that care. And like I said, provide or take the time to develop those nurturing relationships with those children. That's the most important thing. Also, they need a safe, healthy place to be every day. And along with that, they need a learning environment that is explorable and a learning environment that's fun. They also need opportunities to learn through play. They need opportunities to develop across all domains. It's a lot of times when we're talking about teaching children, it's easy for us to focus in on the cognitive stuff, the learning shapes, the learning letters, the learning colors, that kind of stuff. But sometimes, and really not early childhood folks, but sometimes, like especially in the K-12 realm, they kind of forget about the social emotional component. it's just as important to teach a child self-discipline. It's just as important to teach a child how to talk to other children or how to talk with adults, to teach them how to communicate. It's important to teach children, it's okay when you get angry, but there's a right and a wrong way to act when you get angry. Those are fundamental things that are just as important to teach as all the other stuff. And then finally, we feel like children need a curriculum that is adaptable to their individual needs. Like I said, no two children learn the same way. And when you think about a good curriculum, a good early childhood education curriculum, having a curriculum that is adaptable is very important. So then that brings us to, how do we support early educators? And this is really more on our side. What is it that we need to do to help support you in the things in what you do every day? First of all, we know that we need to provide training opportunities that enhance that teacher-child interaction. Just like that's the most important component of an early childhood program, we need to make sure that we're doing our part to help you all on that front. We also need to offer professional development that focuses on the needs of the children. And then in addition to professional development, training, technical assistance, we need to provide a recognition system that allows for you all to highlight your specializations, to highlight those things that make your programs special and unique, and a way that helps families see what you can offer for them. So like if a parent is trying to find childcare that's going to meet their needs, how do we put a system in place that is going to allow for that? And then finally, we feel it's very important that we provide you with opportunities to improve your programs, but we do so by building on your strengths, not by pointing out your weaknesses. We think that's really important as well. Okay, so kind of looking at the big picture here, what this whole piece is going to look like. We've really divided it up into 3 steps or 3 pieces, and I'm going to go into detail on each of these pieces as we go through the presentation. So step 1, or the first piece, would be you all would earn what we're calling right now your teacher-child interaction badge. It is this would be, just like we have said that the teacher-child interaction component is the most important. We feel like that's where we should focus. We feel like that's where we need to start. And so we would spend some time rolling that piece out. And then from there, we would give you the opportunity to earn what we're calling fundamental badges, which I'm going to go into in more detail here in just a few minutes as well. And these fundamental badges would be based on the type of care that you provide. So like, for example, if you care for infants, you will be able to earn an infant badge. If you care for toddlers, a toddler badge, 2-year-olds, a 2-year-old badge, preschool, a preschool badge, school age badges. And then we would also add a special needs badge to that as well. And then finally, the third step would be you would have the option to earn what we would call specialization badges. And the specialization badges are those areas of even more specialization. And like I said, I'm going to get more into that here in just a little bit. Now, I do want to say, again, just like I said before, that we're presenting this to you. We want to get your feedback. We are not married to anything that we're sharing with you tonight. So if you don't like the term badge, if you don't like, if you have a different, if you have another idea that you think might be a better way to display these proficiencies, we're open to that. If you don't like the word fundamental, if you don't like the word specialization, we are open to suggestions. And then I also want to say, you can share your thoughts tonight as we're going through the presentation. You are more than welcome to talk to us, but we're also going to be sending out a survey that has these same types of questions, and will give you, you will be able to, like, so tonight, if you're just kind of taking it in and you don't really, you don't really have any input tonight, but then after tonight, you get to thinking about it and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I have an idea. Well, first of all, if you want to come to one of the other town halls, you're welcome to do so. But then you'll also have the option of, you're gonna have the option of giving us some feedback on the survey as well. All right, so jumping into the first step, which is the teacher-child interaction badge, we are looking at using the class observation tool. Now, the class observation tool, it is a nationally recognized tool that focuses on teacher-child interaction. Now, before, with the Quality Stars program, there were the Quality Stars program used the environment rating scales. There was one for infant and toddler classrooms. There was one for preschool classrooms. There was one for school age, and there was one for family child care. Now, those assessments focused heavily on the environment. So they looked at a lot at how the environment was set up, how many learning areas there were. It got very detailed in terms of what the materials were in the classroom. You're not going to see that on the class. The class focuses, zeroes in on what the teacher is doing in the classroom. So it's all about observing how the teacher is teaching, how the teacher is interacting with the children, what the teacher is doing to create a warm, nurturing environment. How is the teacher facilitating learning? Is the teacher engaged with the children? Like, is the teacher, down in the floor with the children, talking to them, laughing with them, singing, playing with them, or is the teacher on her cell phone, which is not what you want. So it really does, it focuses on the teacher, the teacher's behavior. It does not really, there is an element of the classroom environment, but it's from the perspective of how is the teacher facilitating learning in the environment. So the class, there are three age groups that are included with the class observation tool. There's an infant class tool, there's a toddler class tool, and in this case, toddlers would cover toddlers and 2-year-olds. And then there's a pre-K class tool, and pre-K would be like your school age, or I'm not your school age, I'm sorry, your preschool, so your 3-year-olds and your 4-year-olds. So why do we feel like the class is important, and why might it be a tool that we would use? So it does provide a way to observe teacher-child interaction. And not only that, but also as part of the class observation, we can develop professional development that enhances the teacher's ability to properly interact with children during various activities. So throughout the day. And how might the class impact your classroom? So one, the class would give us a tool that would help us to build both the competency and the confidence of teachers as educators. I've worked in professional development. I was a preschool teacher myself years ago. I was also a child care director for a while, and then I moved into professional development. And one of the things that I came to realize as I was working with teachers and working with directors is it's important to build up a teacher's competency. And when we're talking about competency, that is a teacher's ability to do something, right? That's, when you step into a classroom, you know what you need to do to manage that classroom to make learning take place. Confidence is also important, because when a teacher feels confident in their ability, it just enhances them feeling as a true professional. They stop seeing themselves as a caregiver or just a caregiver or a babysitter, and they truly start to see themselves as an educator. And it truly changes the tone of the setting of the classroom. When they can go into a classroom and they feel confident about what they're doing, they're going to feel more confident in their day-to-day responsibilities teaching children. But then also, if a parent asks them questions about what's going on in the classroom, they're going to feel more confident, more comfortable having a conversation. So that's just as important. Also, with a stronger skill set, hopefully help remove some of the stress from teachers about not knowing what to do. A lot of, I've also heard from a lot of directors, and a lot of you have told me that you have a lot of, you're all seeing a whole lot of turnover in your programs, or you get someone on board and you get them trained, you're teaching them, you get them ready to go into the classroom, and then they leave, or they don't stay with you. And training teachers, it represents a very large time commitment for you all. Not to say that you all should not be spending some time with your teachers, absolutely, but we can also help you all on that front. And the class tool, we feel like using the class observation tool would be a really good way for us to be able to approach that. And then finally, give directors a better understanding of how they can support their teachers in the classroom. Like I said, the class tool, it allows us to build professional development plans for staff. And the way that we see this going is we would do the class observation, and then our TA people would work with the directors to develop professional development plans for their staff. And the director would have some input on how they feel that they can best help their teachers to develop that skill set that focuses around teaching young children. All right, I'm going to show you all one more thing about the class, and then I'm going to open it up for some questions about the class. So what you see here is the 3 age groups that the class includes, which is infants, toddlers, and pre-K. So again, your infants, that's your 0 up to 12 months. Your toddlers, this would be your toddlers and your 2-year-olds, and then your pre-K would be your 3-year-olds. So if you look on the left side of each column, you see the larger I think it's the domains. I can't remember if it's the domain or the dimension, but anyway, so like with infants, when you're looking at what's important with infants, we know really with curriculum with infants, it's all about interaction. So with infants, are the teachers in the classroom engaged in responsive caregiving? Are they setting up an environment or a climate that is warm and nurturing? Are they sensitive to the children's needs? Is the room set up in a way? Okay, thank you, Farah. Top is the domain, the middle is the dimensions. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Are they setting up the classroom in a way that allows for, infants to get down on their tummies and kind of scoot around and explore their environment? And then are they talking to the infants? Are they helping with early language support? Are they talking to the infants while they're changing their diaper or while they're feeding them? Are they singing to them? Are they truly engaged because infants are picking up on all that, right? As you're, doing these routine activities, when you're talking, singing, with them, they're picking up on the nuances of language while you're doing that. So then moving into the toddler age, you have the emotional behavior, the emotional behavioral support, and then you add the engaged support for learning. So with the emotional and behavioral support, again, is the teacher setting up a climate or an environment that is warm and nurturing versus a negative climate where the teacher is cold and not interacting with the children? Is the teacher sensitive to the needs of the child? If is the teacher, paying attention to what the children are doing, and at what point the teacher may need to step in, to work with the child, or allow the child to have some opportunity to explore for themselves. Is there regard for the child's perspective? Is there respect for the child? It's very important. When I used to teach workshops on discipline and positive discipline, and we talked a lot about it's very important for teachers to model behavior that they want to see from children. So, for example, if a teacher, if we don't want children yelling in the classroom, we shouldn't be yelling at them. If you don't want the children hitting or throwing things, the teacher should not be hitting the children, and the teacher should not be throwing things. So showing respect for the child and respecting the child's perspective. And of course, the behavior guidance part, which is really kind of a combination of the things that I've just talked about. Is there facilitation of learning and development? So again, is the classroom set up in a way where children can get down and explore and learn through that exploration and learn through play? Is there feedback? Is the teacher watching what the children are doing and using, taking advantage of opportunities to step in and engage with the children? And then of course, the language modeling. Is the teacher, are there examples of where the teacher throughout the day is communicating with the children? Y'all know with toddlers, they start to speak more. Sometimes they kind of mumble or jabber, and then words start to develop. And then after, in other words, they'll start, using the appropriate words for appropriate objects. And then they start to use simple sentences. Is the teacher again modeling that appropriate use of language? And then we move into pre-K, which has the emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support pieces. So with the emotional support, again, is the environment, is the teacher creating a warm, nurturing environment for children? Is the teacher sensitive to the children's needs? Do we show regard and respect for the student? With the classroom or organization, is the classroom set up in a way that promotes positive behavior? Again, like another example, when I would work with teachers, one of the first things I would say is, I would go in and I would say, okay, tell me about some problems that you're having. Tell me about some potential issues. And they would say, well, the kids are running around, it's just kind of chaos all the time. And, what I would see is they would have all the learning areas around the perimeter of the room, and they would have these big open spaces in the middle. Well, when children see a big open space, they want to run. It kind of encourages running. So, is the environment set up where you have these learning areas, but you kind of minimize like the big open spaces? And, do you have the room set up in a way that allows children to move to the different areas, but there's some organization to that? Productivity, instructional learning formats, then the instructional support. Is the teacher doing things that relate to concept development? Again, is the teacher taking advantage of opportunities to provide feedback to children? And we call this scaffolding. It's kind of knowing, observing what the children are doing and knowing when to kind of let the children solve a problem for themselves and when to kind of step in and scaffold the child or help the child through an activity or a concept, etc. And then again, language modeling. Are they using opportunities to model the appropriate use of language? So I know this is a lot of information that's out there. The class is definitely, it's probably the most complex concept that I'm going to share with you tonight. Really, and I'll take some, I'll take some questions, and, we can discuss this a little bit, but really, there's more that's involved with this tool than we could really cover this evening. And so what I would suggest to you all is, after we get done tonight, please you can go online, you can Google the class observation tool, class assessment. Teachstone is the company that does it. I suggest you go out there, research the tool itself, look at it. And then, like I said, if you want to come to one of the other town halls, or, you will have the opportunity to give us feedback via the written, the survey, where you can give us some written feedback. All right, so I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to take a few minutes to see if anyone has any questions about anything that I've presented so far. And then we've got more to cover, but anything that I've touched on so far. If you would like to give a comment or ask a question, you can unmute yourself, and you can ask your question or make your comment.
I have one question. In this class setup, do you have suggestions in each one of the areas as to what works in each one of those areas, or are those items like if we wanted to teach a new teacher to go into a infant's room or a toddler room, do you have suggestions on how you would initiate the training for each one of the areas you have defined in the class model?
Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you. So the class assessment itself, the different pieces that are the domains, the dimension, or the dimensions and domains, they do outline examples of what what would be an example of best practice. So, for example, like with relational climate, like one of the indicators, may say, is the teacher smiling and or laughing with the infant throughout the day? Is the teacher physically close to the children? Is the teacher, getting in the floor and interacting with the children? So it does give specific examples, but on top of that, there is some really outstanding training on the class. And we would not expect you all to train your staff by yourself. If if you all, like I said, after we do these town halls, if we feel like you all feel pretty good about us going in the direction, we're going to really ramp up the training that we offer before we even start doing the class observations. Like we would offer extensive training on what the class is, how your teachers can meet, the various indicators that are included in the tool. We know that we would have to fully support you in what's included in this observation tool. We would not expect you to do that all on your own. Are there any other questions or comment? Did I answer your question?
I didn't introduce myself. I was Roosevelt Turner, and I think the training would be great.
Okay.
The only problem I see with that is after a teacher get trained and then they leave for some reason, then every time you do it. So if you had some type of interactive model that was on your website or something, a tool that you give us that we can use with each new teacher that goes in the classroom for each one of the areas, that would be very, very useful.
I think that's a really great suggestion. And that's one of the things we've been talking about, the trainings that we offer, especially those that are in higher demand. How can we make those more available? And like you said, something that's online, something that's interactive, something, we could offer the trainings as well, but then give you all, as directors, some tools that you could use to implement too. It's a very good suggestion. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Chad, there's a question in the chat.
Okay. Let me see. Are these class observations in addition to the regular 4 times year observations by licensing? Okay, so licensing, that's a different department. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know that licensing has officially implemented the 4 inspections, or if they're going to implement that just yet. These class observations, this would be something on top of licensing. So, I do know that if this is something that we would do, this would be additional visits, and, we would talk with licensing about how we could make their inspection process and the class observations, try to minimize, because, even we can do things to make the process as unobtrusive as possible. But I mean, frankly, anytime that someone is coming into the classroom to observe what's going on, I mean, it is a little disruptive. I mean, it can be disruptive. Even we can do things to minimize the disruptions, but it is still somewhat of a disruption throughout the day. And we would work with Department of Health on their inspection process and this to try to minimize the disruptions to your day-to-day operation as much as we possibly could. And I think it's also important to note that we're very aware that any of our people that any of our people that are coming in and, you know, doing the observation and working with you, that we need to do what we can to make them sensitive to the fact that, you know, for teachers, it can be somewhat intimidating. You know, years ago when I was a teacher, I had someone that came in and observed, you know, was observing me. And I know, even though I felt pretty good about what I was doing in the classroom, there's still, you know, it's intimidating and it's a little scary. And so we need to make sure that we are being, you know, very sensitive to that fact, and, you know, being friendly when we come into the classroom, and do everything that we can to help your teachers feel as at ease as possible. Okay.
Brad, this is Stella Gales. Who will be conducting these class observation?
If it is, you know, if we do move forward with this, it would be more than likely someone from my office, from the office of DECCD. You know, we have trainers that would be working with you all.
Thank you.
Sure. Let's see, a question. Let's see, a couple things popped up in the chat. Sorry, my mouse doesn't want to cooperate. Let's see. Due to high turnover, can this be added as a class that allow teachers to get credit toward hours? Okay, so yeah, anything, the training that we offer on the class and TA, we would there would be contact hours made available for that. So will the training be available during working hours? If so, will centers be supported with staffing? So the way that I think the training, you know, the way that it would go, I think it's workshop type training. So it would be, we would try to be as accommodating to everyone's schedule to, you know, do a combination, some during the day, some, you know, in the evening. And we are trying to look at some other supports for you all on that front. We did offer, we did recently in our policy manual update for the child care payment program, we gave you all some extra days for professional development that you can close and still be paid for those days. And then we're working on a substitute pool, which hopefully would help with some of that as well. Yeah, and like Farah said, there are, you know, if you, like I said, if you're interested in going and looking at the, you know, learning some more about the class now, there are some good videos out there, you know, she mentions like on YouTube, you know, that are free that you can go and check out more on the class. So any other questions about the class observation tool before I move on? Okay, so now what I want to do is take a few minutes to kind of walk you all through what the system as a whole would look like from the point of entering the system, and then what the steps would look like. So mention that the first step, you know, would be earning the teacher-child interaction badge. But to be eligible to do that, there's a couple of things that you have that kind of have to be in place first. So first of all, you have to be legally operating, which means you have to be licensed or registered. And then there are the 12 health and safety topics. There's the health and safety training that you are required to take. None of that is going to change. That's going to stay in place. And then if you are participating in the child care payment program, if you accept subsidy, you would be required to participate in the quality support system. So these are the basics, and we've kind of outlined it in 3 steps. So step 1 would be earning your teacher-child interaction badge, and you would do this by meeting a threshold score of 3 on the class observation. Now, the class assessment or the class observation tool, it is split into 3 levels. There's a low, mid, and a high range. 3 is the score that 3 is the lower range score in the mid section. Now, even though we're saying that you would be required to meet a threshold score of 3, nowhere at any point would the number 3 be associated with your program. Your score, this is not a score that we would have online. You would not, no one would see your score. Either you earn the badge or you don't. So if you meet the score of 3, it's just a way to quantify where you are in that range. And like I said, 3 represents the beginning of the mid-range. And so what you would do is we would do the teach observation. If you meet that threshold score of 3, which means you're in that mid-range, you would automatically earn your teacher-child interaction badge. It would be across any age groups that you work with. So you would just earn that badge. We would not rate you as a 3. You would just simply earn that badge. And at the end of the presentation tonight, I'm going to show you if we move in this direction, I'm going to show you what the badging system would look like if someone were to like search, go to the search site and look at your center. So step 1 would be earning that teacher-child interaction badge. That would be first. And we're thinking, it would take about a year. So we would spend about a year just on step 1. We would not move to steps 2 and 3 until we felt we had time to really introduce the class observation tool with you all, work with you all on that, and help you all get to that first step, which is earning that first badge. Then we would move on to step 2, or in year 2, where we would introduce the fundamental badges. And these badges would be based on the type of care that you provide. So if you care for infants, you could earn an infant badge. If you care for preschool, you can earn a preschool badge. If you serve children with special needs, you could earn a badge in special needs. And in just a minute, I'm going to go in more detail about what those fundamental badge requirements will be. And then finally, step 3 or year 3 would be earning your specialization badge. So these are going to be more specialized areas. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in a little bit about what those specialization badges are and what we're kind of looking at. But we would take our time with this. We would roll out each of these steps. Like I said, we're thinking this would be about a minimum of a 3-year time period. So about a year for each step to give you time to get acclimated to the new pieces of it. We don't want to throw all this at you all at one time. And of course, as we introduce each of these different steps, each of these different pieces, we would be providing lots of support in the way of training and technical assistance. All right, so the first step would be earning your teacher-child interaction badge. Like I said, I mentioned you would meet a threshold score of 3 on the class observation for any of the age groups that you serve. Again, class has the low, mid, and high range. The 3 is the lower range of the mid-level on the score. So that's basically what that says is you do have evidence that your teachers are doing a really good job at interacting with children. That's essentially what that means. Now, the school age program, if you care for school agers, we would develop an observation tool using criteria from the Mississippi Director's Credential. Some of you may have taken that program or taken that course. The Mississippi Director's Credential, it's been around for a long, long time. And it has some really good criteria for setting up a strong school age program. And so we would use criteria from it to develop the school age observation tool. So then once you earn your teacher-child, well, actually, I tell you what, let me pause. Let me go back. Do I have any questions about the teacher-child interaction badge, the step 1? Do I have any questions about that or comments?
So the badges are associated with the center or associated with the teacher?
The badge would be associated with the center. So like as a center, your center would earn the teacher-child interaction for your entire center.
So over that year's time, if you have 2 or 3 teachers in that same classroom, it's gonna be it seems like that would be a problem, because
So what we're
you really evaluating 3 teachers, and all of them might not have the same proficiency.
So I think the way that this would go is, we would first ramp up the training. We would offer lots of training, lots of, professional development opportunities. We would have your observation, your class observation, give you the opportunity to earn that badge. But we would not require, each time you hired a new teacher, we would not require that teacher to go back through the observation. We're thinking this would probably be something that would be just done once a year. Like, we would only do this once a year with your center. And so every time you have a new teacher, you would not be required to go back through the observation. We would just come back and, and if you have a new teacher, we would, of course, the training would be something that we would offer ongoing all the time. We would have that readily available for any new staff members, that come on board with you. So you wouldn't be required to do it every time with the new teachers. You would just do it probably, like, so we're thinking once a year, maybe once every 2 years. We're still, kind of thinking through the frequency of that, but we certainly would not expect you to go back through the entire observation every time you have a new teacher that comes on board.
But I would think each center, whenever they bring in a new teacher, they would like to have the capability of doing that, to make sure that that teacher is holding up the same standards that the and making sure that if you come in and decide you want to evaluate the center again, that teacher is up to par to be able to keep that same rating.
Certainly. And I think what, if we were to look at doing this, we could maybe set up like I don't know, we could call it like a success plan or something, so that would, let you all know, okay, when you have new staff that come on board, like, this is the training they need to take. And then these are some things, that you can do, or that they can do in the classroom to, to be prepared for the observation. But I do think you bring up a good point. And it's something that we would have to be cognizant of, is as, with turnover, how would we continue to support those new teachers that might be coming in the classroom?
So I with the training that you mentioned, I would think that would be the key, is to have in your toolkit certain training, that when you get a teacher in to go into a particular classroom, they would have to take these trainings,
Yes.
which would help with you're gonna have to do training anyway. You got to get 15 hours anyway, so that training would help with that process. And then if they complete that training, then that teacher at least has finished all the training they needed to do, and that would if that training is done, maybe that would be what is needed, is as far as for you to be able, because the observations, if you just coming in there one day to do observation, you might get to teach on a good day, you might get to teach on a bad day. But if they at least go through the training, seem like the training is what is needed to get that teacher at a certain level to handle that class.
I agree with you. I think you're right on the money with that. And I think that's definitely, that's an excellent way of describing the situation and what we would need. And I think, like, if we decide to, if it looks like this is a direction that we would go in, I think so. What our next step after we do this round of town halls, if we feel like everyone feels good about us moving in this direction, we're going to go back and iron out some of these details. And then we're going to come back to you all with those details, where we have, the more development on the use of this, and it would include, the support plan and everything. And then we would want you to weigh in on that further development before we began looking at implementing anything.
And Chad, this is Stella, back to what the gentleman said. I've been doing class for 12 years for Head Start. And on any day, given day, your worst teacher can get a better score, and your best teacher can get a low score, because class is in the moment. It's what's going on while they're observing you at that time. And that's some of the maybe people consider drawbacks to it, but it's in the moment.
Well, and I think, and I agree. I mean, I think, and it's very dynamic. Like you said, it's in the moment, but we do think that this is a better way of gauging that that the right kind of thing is going on in the classroom, rather than us coming in and like counting how many toys you have on the shelf, or counting, like how many books you have on the shelf, or what type of blocks you have, like really kind of looking at, because everything that's in the class, it's things the teacher should be doing every day, all day. It's really, it really does. And I think it also helps your teachers. It provides a way for your teachers to understand what they should and should not be doing also. But it does so, I think it does so in a way, it's strength-based. Like, again, rather than focusing on what the negatives are and what they shouldn't be doing, it really focuses on behavior that you should be seeing. But I do think, I mean, you do make a good point in that, it is very much, what's happening that day. But again, what the class is saying, what the indicators that are on the class are things that really should be happening every day, all the time.
And I agree. And will you all be doing the time frame that class suggests you do in each class, or will you all shorten the time like Head Start did theirs for the observation, or will you be doing it, or you haven't gotten to that point yet?
We haven't really gotten to that point yet. We've talked about that. We've also talked about, if a program, for example, has multiple infant rooms, should we do an observation on all the infant rooms? Should we do like a percentage for each program? Like some of your larger centers have like, 3 or 4 infant rooms. I mean, again, how do we balance getting a good perspective on, the teacher-child interaction level, but also in a way that is not onerous for you all? We don't want to be, we don't want to make it, we don't want to put so much in place that it's impossible for us to finish. Like if we do every single classroom, are we going to have the resources, the people to be able to do that many observations in a way that's timely, where we can give you feedback? But I'm glad that thank you for these questions, and thank you for this feedback, because we are taking down all this feedback. And when we go back and iron out these details, we're going to be looking at what you all are saying and asking and suggesting as we, kind of develop more on this. And like I said, we're going to come back to you and say, okay, this is what we think, is going to be the best way to move forward. What do y'all think about the further development that we've made? But I really do appreciate what y'all are suggesting. This is good stuff. Thank you. Any other questions, concerns about the teacher-child interaction piece? Okay. So then after the first, like I said, step 1, which is, we're thinking about a year, maybe a little bit longer, just really kind of depends. We would move into step 2, which would be introducing the fundamental badges. And with the fundamental badges, we're talking about these badges that would be based on the type of care that you offer. So if you care for infants, you can earn an infant badge. If you care for toddlers, toddler badge, preschool, a preschool badge, school age, school age badge, special needs, a special needs badge. And as we were thinking through this, we recognized that even though the class tool we feel like it's a good tool to use, we felt that there was the need to give you all more than one option to earn these badges, or more than one way to show that you're doing, that you have a high quality program. So what we're considering is for the fundamental badges. So for each badge, you would have two options. You could either meet a threshold score of a 5, which is at the top level of the mid-range for whatever the age group is, infant, toddler, or preschool. Or if you preferred, we would give you the option to show evidence of quality in 4 different areas. And I'm going to talk about kind of what we've been brainstorming, how you might show evidence in these 4 areas in just a few minutes. But this is also something that I want y'all to weigh in on. I want y'all to kind of look at what we're thinking and tell us if you think we're kind of going in the right direction, or maybe we need to rethink something. But what we're looking at is you would show evidence of quality in 4 areas: professional development, the learning environment, best practice in health, safety, and wellness, and then social emotional support. And again, like I said, we're going to kind of go into more details on each of these in a few minutes. Also, I do want to point out that we're also thinking that with each of these 4 pieces, linking some of this to the individual dimensions in the class, or the individual components of the class, to further give you even further options. So let's say, for example, you decided to earn your preschool badge, and you, instead of doing just the flat threshold score of 5, let's say that you wanted to pursue option 2, but you wanted to display your professional development plan, the learning environment, best practice, and health and safety and wellness. But then let's say you scored very high on the dimension of class that relates to social emotional support. Like maybe you score a 5 or a 6 or a 7 in that area. We would allow you to use that score instead of presenting the evidence of quality. So being very adaptable within these 2 options to give you multiple pathways to show proficiency. Like I said, we're going to go more in detail about the pieces in option 2. But before that, we're going to kind of talk to you all about what the special needs badge would look like. And to do that, we have a special guest, Nicole Brasino, who's from the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center. I got it right tonight, Nicole. I kind of fumbled on it yesterday. But Nicole is from MECIC, and they do, we rely on them to do training and on working with children that have special needs. They have a fantastic team. Some of you may have participated in some of the training that they offer. But Nicole's going to kind of explain what would be part of earning that special needs badge. So thank you for being here tonight, Nicole. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Chad. So MECIC is really excited to help centers who are interested in this special needs badge. And you can see on the screen here all of the benefits of including children with disabilities in your program. And we want to kind of just set forth some of our ideas for what you would need to earn a special needs badge and what high quality inclusion would really look like. So the criteria, the first one is participating in one of our larger professional development programs. And I see a few names on here of participants who've already done that. So that's great. And this includes our special needs credential. And also we have a foundational series. So these are large professional development programs that MECIC already offers. The other thing is the inclusive classroom profile. Again, another thing that we have in place, it's our assessment tool. So kind of like the class, like Chad was saying, we would use this at our centers to make sure that best practices are put in place. And then finally, you could see sorry, I must have pressed something. You also see high quality indicators from the Division of Early Childhood. So this would specifically include looking at the classroom environment, looking at how our directors and our teachers interact with families of children with special needs. Also looking at the interactions, making sure that instruction is really individualized. And what we're really looking at for the special needs badge is, I mean, Chad said it really well when he said, we want our educators, our center directors to feel competent and confident and all of that in, including children. So that's about it.
So
Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
all right. Well, thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. So no questions for Nicole about the special needs badge?
And again, you're welcome to, fill out on the survey, or if you think of any questions, I'll be here until the end of today.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, so I'm going to move into the school age badge. And like I said, we would have to look outside of the class observation tool for school agers. And so we're thinking about looking at the information or the criteria that's laid out in the Mississippi Directors Credential Program that pertains to school age programs. These are at a very high level. These are the areas that we would be looking at, but we would of course be diving into the specifics of each of these pieces, like what it would take, to show evidence of these pieces. But like with the school age badge, it's important to have an environment that complements the school day, doesn't repeat it. And so I apologize if I'm going to step on any toes, but for example, in a classroom or in a school age room, it doesn't look like a school classroom. So you're not looking at rows of desks. You may have tables and chairs where children can group together. Maybe possibly, couches, comfortable areas. There are, you include activities or you include elements in the room that allow children to develop competence in other areas. This includes like having an area where school age children can be creative. They can draw, color, do collages, things like that. They have, maybe they can, the school age children love to play board games. They love to play with their friends. School age children need opportunities to go outside. They need opportunities to burn off some of the energy. With that being said, like you incorporate homework into the schedule, but you don't build the schedule around homework. You're still giving school age children that opportunity to kind of unwind after the school day, give them opportunity to get outside, to get out some of that energy, make sure they have an adequate snack. If you have a summer program, you're incorporating, learning in a fun way. The kids aren't just sitting around watching TV all day, which, y'all aren't supposed to do that anyway. And also the program has activities that are appropriate for the entire age range, 5 to 12-year-olds. It's a broad range. And, you all can choose which age groups you enroll, but whatever ages that you are serving, that you are making accommodations that meet the needs of children across that entire age spectrum. So before I move on, are there any questions about the school age badge?
For the school age badge, you say don't center it around homework, but a lot of our parents are low income parents, and they pretty much want their children to do their homework at the center.
Sure. I get that.
Which introduces a problem to the centers, because you got different ages, and so you got to have someone efficient in dealing with all those levels. And since some students finish their homework a little bit sooner than others, we have things for them to do, but pretty much we we have to make sure that if students have homework, that we try to get to all the students that have homework, and so that the parents not screaming that they didn't get their homework done.
Sure. And I listen, this is, all the years that I've taught about this. I mean, this is, there are, I've heard both sides of the argument here. And, for me, what I think you have to find that balance. You do want to help support the parents, but parents also have to understand to a certain degree, there's only so much you can do. Especially when you do, when you have children, because like when children start getting, 10, 11, 12 years old, some of that homework gets complicated. And like I can even tell you, I mean, I was pretty good at math in school, but if you asked me to sit down, if a school was using the new math methods, I couldn't help them. I wouldn't even know where to start. I will say whatever I think whatever your policy is on homework, you do need to make sure, again, the children are getting, like I said, having some time to burn off some of their energy, making sure they have an adequate snack, because like, even when I was in school, I mean, some of these children they eat lunch around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they haven't had anything else to eat, since then. So they're usually starving by the time they get to your program. So, having some or making some allowances for them, to get outside, even if it's just for like 20, 30 minutes, eat an adequate snack, that all that stuff is make some allowances there. But whatever your homework, I will say this and then I'll be quiet. Whatever your homework, whatever you choose as far as homework goes, my advice is you need to have a policy in place. You need something in your handbook up front that lets parents know what their expectations are of you and what you expect from them, on the other side. But I totally understand what you're saying about parents, wanting their kids to have their homework done. I totally understand that. Like I said, you kind of have to find that balance between supporting the parents, but then doing also what's best for the children.
Yeah, the snack thing is part of the program, but the homework is going to take up a lot of time. I mean, it just takes up a lot of time. And so you got to find something for the other students that finish early to do. But
Right.
if a student's having trouble with the homework, you got to help them with that homework. Because like I say, the parents probably is in a worse position to help them with the homework than we are. I mean, we pretty much make sure we have someone on staff that can do that. But the parents, they want that homework done at the center because they can't get it.
Right.
And so we got to try to fill that void and make sure that the student is learning.
And I get that, and I mean it's admirable, and especially like I said, when you're dealing, with a situation where you have families that are low income families, but another thing is, I mean, tutors make a lot of money, and if y'all can afford to have like tutors in place or they can really help with the homework, I mean, I think that's great. Like I said, it's just really it is about finding that balance and meeting, like I said, supporting the parent and then also supporting the child. So I totally agree with that.
Now y'all can provide resources to get tutors, then that would help.
Well, that's true. That would cost a whole lot of money there. I don't know about that, but we could. I'll tell you what, I don't make as much money, or if I could offer you the amount of funding to afford tutors that were making $20-$30 an hour, I would if I could. But any other questions or suggestions about the school age badge? Okay. So we were talking about the other option for if you choose if you would prefer not to go the class route for the evidence of quality. And I talked about, showing proficiency or showing evidence of quality in the 4 areas: professional development, the learning environment, best practice, health and safety and wellness, and social emotional. So these are just kind of some of the things, the ideas that we're throwing around, or that we've been doing some brainstorming here. And so for professional development, what we're thinking is we would work with you to develop a professional development plan that's actually designed to build on the knowledge the teacher needs. So like, for example, if you have a teacher that is an infant teacher, they're participating in workshops and technical assistance that actually focus on teaching infants. For example, I've taught classes in the past. I've taught financial management classes in the past, and I would have entire classes where a director would sign up his or her entire staff because they were just trying to find training that was close to them, because it was hard for them to find training that was specific to the needs of the teacher. And this is something that we need to do on our side. We need to be make sure that we are providing enough opportunities for you all to find training that is relevant to your teachers, to what they're doing every day. Also, like I had mentioned, the class observation tool, it provides a way to develop a professional development plan also based on the responses, or based on what's in what's in the observation results. For the learning environment, we're looking at some different things, like of course, checklists about what the learning environment would look like. But I do want to be clear here that we're not talking about reusing any of the environment rating scales that were part of the Quality Star system. So, I've talked to some folks and, gotten some feedback on the surveys and in the town halls about the use of those environment rating scales. And while those, tools were definitely provided a very thorough checklist of the learning environment, of the classroom environment, sometimes, and what one director said was, you kind of miss the forest for the trees. And she said, for example, when one of the directors was talking about when her program was being assessed, she scored lower than she would have. She scored high, except for on one of her blocks, there was a chip on one of the sides of the blocks. We're not talking about that. We're talking about looking from a more holistic perspective. Is the learning environment, is it organized into, learning areas? We used to talk about, when I used to do training, we would talk about, the 5 basic learning areas. Do you have, like a block center, or do you have home living or dramatic play? Do you have a manipulative center that has the puzzles and the counting bears and the things where children can learn to sort and count and match? Do you have an art area where children can paint and color and draw? And do you have a reading area where they can sit down and look through books? And, are the quiet areas separated from the loud areas? Is the classroom, set up where children can explore, like they have learning center time? Things like that. We're not talking about, nobody's going to come in and, like I said, and count how many blocks you have on the shelf, or no one's going to count how many books you have on the shelf. We're not going to focus on learning environment in that way, looking at it from a more holistic perspective. Also, along with like the curriculum and the child assessment piece, we're talking about the possibility of where you would upload like pictures or short videos of things that would show evidence of a good learning environment or curriculum, like an online portfolio. So like your teacher could take pictures of their classroom and upload those pictures into the online portfolio, or maybe upload a short video, which is like, like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, where the teacher is, doing a group activity with the children. Now, obviously, along with this, we would want to protect children's identity. So it would have to be done in a way where children's faces are not recognized, whatever, but it's just something we're throwing around. The teacher could also upload pictures of activities, like if they're doing process oriented activities, with young children. I know, like if I walk into a child care center, and let's say like it's around like Thanksgiving, and if y'all do like those handprint turkeys and every single turkey looks exactly like a turkey, I know the children didn't do that. So are you really seeing, you know, that process, those process-based activities, those process-based art activities, so things like that. Best practice with health, safety, and wellness. You know, what we've talked about is providers would have a very limited or no licensing violations for a certain time period, you know, like over a year, you would have limited or no licensing violations. And then like for social emotional, we're really working on ramping up pyramid model training. And the pyramid model, it's a form of support. It's mental health support, not only for children, but also for those that work with the children. And it's something, it's training, you know, we're looking at offering, we're going to be offering a lot more training on that. And it's really, really a pretty fantastic mental health support. Like I said, not only for children, but also those that are working with children. So we're really going to be ramping up training for that. So, you know, we would see evidence that the pyramid model criteria is in place. Or again, like I said, with each of these pieces, you know, let's say you chose to, you know, show evidence of quality in 3 of these areas, and maybe 1 or 2 of them you score high enough on the class to use your class score in place of the evidence of quality. Again, trying to give you multiple options to show proficiency. So anyway, so any questions or any feedback on these requirements? Do you all have some other suggestions about some ways that you could show evidence of quality in these areas that we may not have thought of? Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, so kind of looking at these, you know, these fundamental badges, you know, how do you all feel about the use of the word badge? Do you like it? Is there another name that you would like? You know, do you feel that, you know, have these fundamental badges? Do you feel like this process would work pretty well? Any general thoughts, comments?
I don't particularly like the badges, but you got to call them something. You got to call them.
I was thinking about, you know, like certification, just a simple, just certification, back to the basics.
Okay. I think also when I show y'all the example at the end, it might give you some other ideas of what, you know, we might could call it if you don't really like the badges. Kind of our thought there, just to kind of explain, we were thinking, what is something that people would understand, you know, that wouldn't be too conceptual. You know, of course, this kind of reminds you of like the Girl Scout, Boy Scout badges, but you know, everyone pretty much understands like you earn a badge by showing proficiency in a certain area. So that's kind of where we were going. But I mean, we could, you know, we could look at calling it something else. We're trying to think of a way that this might be more. I know this, y'all may like think we're crazy when I say this, but how could we make this process fun in some ways? You know, what we're thinking about is with the badges or the buttons or whatever the proficiencies, the certifications, whatever we would call it, you know, we would set up a way to recognize you like on our search website, but then also whatever the visual would look like, we might like provide you with like window clings that you could use at your center, you know, a way that you could really, you know, kind of showcase the different proficiencies that you, or the different areas that you've earned. But I, you know, I understand, like I said, if there's other names that y'all think of, anybody else have any suggestions or thoughts?
Well, on the badge thing and on licensing, you can get licensed and flunk all the badges. I mean, I would think, but I mean, it got to be something that can move childcare to another level without without saying this is and it probably has to be teamed up with the licensing process. But
Well, and
I just like, I mean, badges are gonna say something, and someone is gonna look at it and gonna say, oh, this center didn't do that badge and didn't do that badge. And so in some areas, it's not gonna make any difference to the parents. In other areas, it's gonna make a difference to the parents.
So I think, what we're, and I see your point, but again, you're not going, if you pull up a certain, I mean, I think the idea here is, let's say that I'm a parent and I have a toddler that has special needs. You would look for programs that have a toddler and a special needs badge. The way that it would be represented, either you would see the badge or you wouldn't. And, with the Quality Stars program, programs were given like a single star rating. You were either a 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, all the way up to 5 stars, but that was it. And the star didn't really tell you what the program had done to earn that star. And there's a letter that I sent out, and I don't know if you all have seen it yet. We sent it out, I guess it was Friday of last week. It was the invitation to the town halls, and in that there were three links to 3 very short videos that kind of highlighted why they kind of inspired us. I didn't say kind of, they inspired us to kind of move in this direction. And what the video was talking about was a lot of QRIS systems, they use a lot of criteria and they develop like a star or a score, like a single number, a single star, a single rating. And there's a lot of criteria that goes into it, but it doesn't really tell you much about the program. Where like a program might have scored very low, like in the teaching area or the teacher-child interaction area, but maybe they have the best, maybe they have very expensive, materials. Well, for me, I would rather see that a program, really values that teacher-child interaction versus having expensive blocks and stuff on the shelf. Like, to me, that's more important. And so we were really trying to think, what's a way that we could help you all, help show that what goes into the areas of quality. Like, what are programs really working on? And like I said, I'll show you the picture of the badges of what we're kind of thinking here in just a few minutes. It might help things click a little bit more. And we can call it, whatever, you want. Listen, we're not necessarily married to the term badges. So after the fundamental badge piece, well, let me ask this question. I mean, I don't expect everyone to love everything that we've done, but I mean, do you feel that what we've presented to you so far is a plan that will lead to better care and education for children as opposed to the current standard designation? Why or why not? Like, do you feel that this will help you be better prepared, than the current standard designation process?
If training is involved, the whole thing about any process and any development of a center is going to be centered around what type of training is available for those teachers to get to take them to another level. And
I think that's a really good point. Yep.
that's the key.
Yep. Anybody else have any thoughts? All right, well, I know it's getting late, so I'm gonna keep going on. Do you feel like there's enough adaptability? Do you feel like it gives you all multiple options or multiple ways to show the value that you can add to families?
Well, this is Thelma Chad, and I agree with you with the STAR system.
Mhm.
It didn't really highlight or lead to giving better care or education. It was more about, as you said, counting blocks,
Mhm.
evaluators, looking at more the learning center from a cosmetic, if you want, I can use that term,
Mhm.
standpoint versus what the teacher was doing with the children's as far as observation, the teacher-child interaction, was the children's happy or whether or not, those type things, more, I guess, tangible
Right,
observation versus intangible.
right,
And this system that we looking at now, it will give centers a chance to highlight their uniqueness and value in a more better, to to present a better picture what goes on in the classroom from day to day instead of just getting ready for a observation meeting or visit, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
yes, ma'am, and that is what that's what we're trying to get at, so I appreciate that feedback, thank you. Anyone else? Before I move on? All right, y'all give me just a few more minutes and we'll wrap things up. So the final step or step three, or what would probably be year three of the process, would be where we would introduce specialization badges. So after having the opportunity to earn the fundamental badges, you could opt to earn the specialization badges. And because these are more specialized areas, we're also thinking that along with this, we would give you a self-assessment tool that you would do for yourself to kind of help you determine if there are some other badges that you would like to earn. And so we've been kind of throwing around some possible, specialization badges or buttons or whatever we would call it. These are some of the ones that we've been thinking about. Like program management, this would be, like, are you doing things to make the work environment for your teachers, a positive environment? Family engagement, are you doing things to really engage families in your program? Outdoor learning, are you using, your outdoor space to engage children in learning outdoors? A lot of parents really like, the naturist perspective on thing, and there are a lot of teachable moments that happen, outside. Emergent multilinguals, like if you employ teachers who are bilingual, or if you do things in your program that are specially set up to serve children or families where English may not be their primary language, or where the family may be bilingual, where they may speak two languages, three, four, maybe they truly are multilingual. Or like STEAM, so like if you incorporate elements of a STEAM curriculum, like you could earn like a STEAM badge. So these are just kind of some of the ideas that we've thrown out there. So in addition to these, any offhand, can you all think of any other specialization areas? Like one provider mentioned having a like a literacy badge, where there were things, that they were doing that really focused on things on the literacy front. But are there any other ideas that kind of come to mind offhand that you can think of? And if you can't think of anything right now, like I said, we will have the survey where you'll, be able to share in that, share on the survey as well. But just any initial thoughts? Okay, I'm gonna move on. All right, so if we were to move in the direction of the badges, this is just a mock-up. This is not, these are not the actual badges, that we would use per se, but just kind of wanted to show you what it might look like. This is actually a mock-up of the current search site. And what we did was we took, a profile. This is a fake profile, obviously. And then this is what the potential badges would look like. So you see that the teacher-child interaction piece at the bottom, we want it to be large. We want it to be more prominent. And then the other badges, the infant, the fundamental and the specialization badges would be above that. And kind of what our thoughts are is, like, if you're searching a certain profile, a program profile, when you pull it up, like, you would take your mouse and you could hover over one of the badges or buttons or pictures, whatever we would call it, and a little pop-up, like a little pop-up thing would, a description would pop up that explains what that badge is. So like if it's an infant badge, it would explain, this program has earned their badge in infant care and education, or this program has shown high proficiency in providing care and education for infants, etc. And there would be a description for each of the badges that would kind of pop up when you hover over it. So as you see here, there's no stars, there's no numbers. It's just simply shows the different areas of care, the different specializations that a program could offer. It provides, and what our goal here is, it's bright, it's engaging, it's eye-catching, and it really provides what we think, or what we hope, is a way to really showcase, or allow you all to showcase the special services that you offer, to children and to their families. And like I said, this is just a mock-up. This is just, we would hire like a graphic designer, I'm sure, to create the badges. These are just some examples of icons that we put together. Although I will say, I feel like we did a pretty good job of, putting together a mock-up. So any thoughts, any feedback on this? Do you like how it looks? Does it, look like a step in the right direction? Does it kind of make some things click for you? Do y'all hate it?
I think it looks great. And probably very efficient when you say click on those badges. Your family, their family will understand, like you said, what it is that you're marketing, or what you're have to offer.
Thank you for that feedback.
It's not that it's hated, Mr. Chad. It's just that it's a little busy for the average parent. We're working with low-income parents who work all day and get home, and in a lot of areas, that we only have limited childcare anyway, and so they have to go where they can go. But it's a little busy to me. Because, like I saw the infant, the toddler, the parent, and, I saw the special needs or whatever, I saw the caring hand, so, but supposing somebody have to go through all of those, what time would they have to sit down and go through 4 daycares to look at what they provide? Just a
Well, and I hear you, I hear you, Ms. Gales, but the alternative right now is they have to click on that license and service tab, and they have to read, like, scroll down through there to see what the age groups are that they serve. I mean, I feel like but I do think hearing your point, I think we would need to have some sort of, key or whatever that says, look, this badge, something that's like a shorter version. But like I said, the pop-up, we would want the badges to be very visual. And so we would want the badges to be visual in a way that the parents wouldn't necessarily have to scroll over, to look at every single description. They would, recognize what badge represents infant care. Like we would want it to be pretty, we would want it to be very user friendly. And we would want it to, to be something that parents could peruse pretty quickly, where they wouldn't, they wouldn't have to take a huge amount of time, searching for a program that might be a good fit for them. But I hear what you're saying, and I think that, we want to make sure that this is something that parents can use easily, and not have to take a whole lot of time searching for a childcare program. Other thoughts or
For people, but for the parents that need it, it works. For the parents that gonna go to a center because of word of mouth, they're not gonna even go there. I haven't done any advertisement for my center, and
Right.
most of my clients come from word of mouth, so that the center is serving their needs, and they pass it on to their friends and family, and so it works for who it would work for.
Yeah, I think in situations, where, you may have people that move in from out of state, or, they're new to an area, maybe not where they didn't grow up. Giving, like you said, I mean, I think that a lot of programs, absolutely, your reputation is by far your best marketing tool. But this would be just kind of a way to, I think, to, supplement that. And, I think, you're right in that, we would want it to work for those that would need it. So thank you for that feedback. Other people like it, hate it? Are we moving in the right direction? I promise you are not going to sound silly with anything that you say. But now's the time to speak up. If you don't like it, if you have other ideas, please let us know. All right, so the rollout process, what this is going to look like I said, we're going to take our time. We're going to take our time and do this right. We feel like it's important that we not throw a bunch of new requirements at you all at once. So what we're looking at is, like, year one, we would start with the class observations, and provide the training and technical assistance for all participants. And we would work really hard, assisting you all with earning that first badge, that teacher-child interaction badge. Year two, we would begin introducing the fundamental badges. That's the infant, the toddler, 2-year-old, preschool, school age, and special needs badges. Again, with the multiple options for earning those badges. And then year three, we would introduce the specialization badges, which are those, like the STEAM, the outdoor learning, emergent multilinguals, etc. And that would be year three. So we would take our time and roll this out slowly. Some other things that we want you to know, we're still working on incentives that go along with this system. We've thrown around the idea of, like, when you earn a badge for a particular age group or special needs. We've thought about, the idea of increasing your, like, if you have certificates for infants and you have an infant badge, we would raise your certificate value. We've also talked about, for anyone that would, in lieu of an increase in their certificate value, potentially we would like set aside money, like in an account or whatever, where you might be able to purchase things for your classroom. We also understand, and if you look at the videos that in the letter that I sent out, we appreciate the concept of turning incentives into investments. And so, like, if we were to look at raising, your certificates, maybe we would do that on the front end. Like, if you decide you're going to work towards a certain badge, we could give you the funding up front. Obviously we'd have to work, we'd give you a period of time to earn the badge. And if you didn't earn it in that time period, we might have to look at, reducing your certificates back down until you did earn the badge. But we do understand that the importance of giving you the support and the resources up front to make this happen. We are working on strengthening our training and our technical assistance system, our network there. We do know that for this to work well, we're going to have to support you fully in that process. Finally, this is not complete. This is, we've done this much, but before we really got into the details, we wanted to give you all an opportunity to see what we've been working on and weigh in on that before we got too far and put, we have put a lot of work and thought into it so far. I will say that. But before we really dove into the details, we wanted to see what your initial thoughts were. And so, like I said, we're going to do this. We're going to do these town hall meetings. We'll do the survey, get your feedback. If you all feel pretty good about this direction, we're going to keep going in this direction. We'll flesh out more of the details, and then we're going to come back to you with those details and let you weigh in on all of that. Let's see, there was a question. So Ms. Thelmy, so what happened if your center does not earn the badge within a year? The year is just really the time period that we would roll this out. If you didn't earn it in a year, we'd give you, more time to earn the badges as you needed. And obviously we have new programs that are going to be coming, that may come into play. This would be an ongoing process. So, you may need more time than a year, and we certainly understand that. But that's just kind of the time frame that we're thinking of rolling out the individual pieces instead of just rolling it all out at once. So are there concerns that you have about specific pieces, anything that has not been mentioned yet? Any final questions about anything?
The incentive piece would be great to really get the centers more involved with the process, because it's my understanding that a parent could still come to your center and have a certificate and you don't have any badges. If that's not what I'm hearing, then that needs to be made clear, that you need to have an infant badge, to have an infant's classroom. If those are not the restrictions that you would have as a result of not getting a badge, then that need to be made clear. Now, it was my understanding that I heard that you get an incentive even though to increase the amount that you're getting from the certificate, but it doesn't eliminate the certificate if you don't get the badge.
Correct. So like if you decide, that you would want to earn the infant badge, we might consider, going ahead and raising your infant certificates for, a year, whatever, to give you a little bit extra, funding, whether, and we would, if that went towards higher teacher pay, whatever, give you a period of time to earn that badge. Like I said, we've just kind of been tossing around ideas. But we do understand that it's important that rather than my grandfather used to say, a hungry horse won't go very far. Not that I'm trying to compare anyone to a horse, but what we're saying is rather than hold the carrot out in front of you and say, you've got to do all this work before you get the carrot, we want to make sure that you're well fed and provided for to help you get there. We understand that it's important to really kind of look at it from more of an investment perspective than just incentives, if that makes sense.
It does.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns about anything that you've seen tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chad. It's a work in progress, and you continue to work for early childhood like you're doing. And we can move forward together.
Thank you, Ms. Kells. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, well, next steps. So as I mentioned a couple of times, we are going to be releasing a survey for you to give additional feedback. Be on the lookout. It should be coming out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Once we finish all the town halls and we get the survey out and get responses, we're going to be taking all that information, analyzing it. We're going to be using that information, you know, as we continue to work on the proposed system. Once we kind of iron out the details, we probably will do another round of town hall meetings where we will present those details to you all, and get your feedback on that again. You know, did we do good? Did we get it right? And also we're going to be gathering feedback from families and other our other community partners as well. So we're going to be doing that. But ultimately, we want this to be a system where you feel supported and where children can thrive. So thank you all so much for taking your time to join us tonight to see what we've kind of been working on. Be on the lookout for that survey, and we will be talking to you all again at the next round of town hall. So take care, have a great evening and a great rest of your week. Thank you all again.